Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Heavily Contested Hoops podcast. My name is Peyton Mitchell, and today we're going to be talking about some more college basketball. But first, I'm gonna go ahead and start off by plugging my TikTok. It's at HCH_pod, and I post a lot of more short form type of content for college basketball daily. Um, but let's go ahead and get started right into this episode. We're going to start off by talking about Dan Hurley has the possibility to join a very, very special club. The club that he could join has Jim Calhoun, Roy Williams, Bob Knight, Mike Krzyzewski, Adolph Rupp, and John Wooden. And that club is for the only head coaches to win three or more national titles. Now, with Hurley winning two in the past 3 years and him now being in the Final Four for this one, that gives him a chance to do this. He is his first one was in 2023 and then the second one 2024, and then during that span they won 13 straight March Madness games, which tied the record. They would have had the possibility of winning that game if Walter Clayton Jr. did not go nuclear in that round of 32 matchup last season. On especially after a year that UConn was not the team that we thought they were going to be after a rough Maui tournament, a rough stretch through the year, rough Big East tournament, and through that. So the fact that they scrapped with the eventual national champions was very impressive, and that record for most consecutive tournament wins was almost broken. Now, through that time, UConn was winning games by an average of 21.7 points per game. That was an absolute, there was no one that was able to beat them during that time until they ran into that Florida squad. Um, so now we get to see Saturday against Illinois in the Final Four if Harley can get his Huskies in the position for the opportunity to then win their third national championship in 4 years. But Illinois is a team that you cannot look over and say, "Oh, this is going to be an easy one." Um, They've had a lot of help in this tournament from Andrei Stojakovic, who is 100% playing his best basketball right now. He's averaging 15 points in the last four games in the NCAA tournament. While this is all off the bench, and earlier in the year he was not playing the greatest. That is why he came to Illinois to be that guy. But right now he is definitely that X factor and makes the difference for this Illinois Fighting Illini squad. He's 6'7". He's 22 of 23 from the field during the 4 game span that he's averaging 15 points. And he's the transfer from Stanford and Cal and the son of Peja Stojakovic from the NBA. But Andrei Stojakovic, to add to a point that if him playing better is a reason why this Illinois team is in the Final Four, is that the last game that they lost before the Big Ten tournament was to Michigan by 14 points. He only had 2 points in that game, and that was not even a close game. So now, if they are able to get past this UConn team, then with Stojakovic playing at a much better level and Michigan were to beat Arizona, that would be another clash that we would get to see in the championship. Not only to see that a Big Ten team win it for the first time since 2000, we get to see Illinois have a really good chance of upsetting Michigan in the championship. Um, but about this UConn Illinois matchup, UConn has a 12-1 all-time record in the Final Four. So it's going to be hard for Illinois to win this one, but as this one stacks up, right now Illinois is favored to win this game. They're favored to win by 2.5. And then right now it's saying that Illinois has a 59% chance to win this game as the matchup predictor. That can change. I mean, Keaton Wagler is an absolute stud who's going to go in the NBA draft for Illinois. He's averaging 17.9 points per game. Mirkovic, 8.1 rebounds. It's going to be a battle down on the boards with him and Terrace Reed Jr., who Terrace Reed's been having an amazing tournament right now. It feels like he's gobbling up every single rebound that he has possibly touched at this point. If it touches his hands, he is getting that rebound. But other than that, these teams are very well matched up. Illinois is more of a high powered team, I would say, but defensively, UConn doesn't allow many points. Their average points against is 65.2 right now. they're a very tough defensive team who's honestly riding a high right now after beating that Duke, the Duke, after beating Duke in that miraculous finish after coming back from down 19 at one point. The the Illinois for throughout this tournament, I was going to say now, Illinois, I said that UConn had a better defense throughout the year, but right now in this tournament, Illinois is only allowing an average of 59.8 points per game in each of their first four tournament games, which is absolutely impressive because they had to play Houston, who's a great defensive team, but they gave them a taste of their own medicine in that one. And then the Iowa team, who was hot, they shut them down in the second half after Iowa was right there in it, looking like, oh, Iowa's going to go to the Final Four as a 9 seed in a time where it's really last year after we saw just all 1 seed. So that really helped that part out. I was like, oh, but Illinois came back, shut them down in the second half, and it wasn't even a ball game. But now let's go ahead and move on to the most anticipated matchup of this season with Arizona and Michigan. This one is going to be amazing. This is going to be the best game that or I mean, obviously it's not going to be the best game, but this is the game that we've wanted to see all year long, all year long. I'm so excited for this game. Michigan right now is favored by -1.5. Michigan has the best defensive rating. Arizona has the second best defensive rating. Arizona has the fourth best offense in the country. Michigan has the fifth best offense in the country. These are the same teams when you look at them. Yes, Arizona is led by Braden Berries and Koa as their freshmen, but they also have Krivas and they have Bradley, who are also that give them that veteran leadership to help them get to this point and be one of the most feared teams in the country right now because they've been 1, 2, or 3 all year long, and that's exactly where they're sitting. And to look at this game, I mean, Braden Berries is averaging 16.1 points per game, and you got Axel Lindenborg, the well-established veteran, averaging 15.2. So the fact that we're going to see a veteran who leads the team and a freshman who leads the team, this is going to be amazing because down the board, if you look at it, they got anybody and everybody for this Arizona squad. This Arizona squad is really, really deep. Um, you start off by looking at Berries, like I said, 16.1. Koa Pete, another freshman, 14.1. Jaden Bradley, 13.3. Karnachekko, I can't even pronounce his name right now. Karchen, I'm not even going to try right now, but 10.5. Krivas, 10.4. Awaka, 9.3. Del Orso, 8.6. This is a team that is stacked from top to bottom, and there's really no weakness in this Arizona squad. And it's the same when you look at Michigan. They got Lindenborg, they got Cadeau, and the think that they would be struggling now that with LJ Cason who tore his ACL, you would think they'd be struggling, but their bench is playing really well at this point in the tournament. So everything that we thought was going to happen to Michigan with the absence of LJ Cason is not what anything that we expected. And honestly, they are playing even better now without him. Other people to highlight is Morez Johnson Jr. He's got 13.2 points per game. You got Adai Mara 11.8. This is also a big team in the middle. I mean, this is just going to be a heavyweight matchup from top to bottom as we see it and as we've known. These are both teams. I mean, as you see, Arizona's not won since 1997. This is their first Final Four in a while. Michigan, you've seen them in 2013 in the championship that they could have won because that was a clean block with Trey Burke. And then you have them losing to Dante DiVincenzo and that Villanova squad in 2018, which is not an easy one for them either. So this is just a matchup where anything can go either way, especially with a -1.5 point spread. It's going to happen. I feel like it's going to be a game where Michigan's going to go up a lot. Arizona's going to come back. Arizona's going to go up a lot. They're going to come back. It's going to be back and forth like this. Basketball is a game of runs. We're going to see it in this game 100%. So you just got to expect the unexpected in this one because this is going to be a true heavyweight knockdown drag out fight, as they like to say in this one, with pretty much right now, honestly, it's their best two teams in the country, 1 versus 2, because now that Duke's gone, you can't even say they're the best anymore. So this one's really going to be fun. Tommy Lloyd is 10-4 in the NCAA tournament as a head coach. Honestly, who knows? He might leave after this one, depending on what happens. You never know. And then the other story that developed today was Elliot Cadeau. There's nothing wrong with him at this point, but he had an allergic reaction to something that he ate before they left for Indianapolis. But other than that, he's good. There's nothing to say he's going to play. So now we can go ahead and talk about these two other tournaments that are being played as another postseason tournament for teams that did not make the NCAA tournament field. Um, Today. Actually, these are going on currently. This game is right now. Colorado's up by 2 to Oklahoma right now. It's early, about halfway through the first half, but Colorado's up 24-22 to this Oklahoma squad, who was the first team out of the tournament in the college basketball crown out in Las Vegas right now. So this is the quarterfinals. It's a 8-team tournament field. That every round you earn some money. So this is going to be a good matchup anyway, in my opinion. It's favored Oklahoma by -6.5, but let's see if Colorado's best player is playing. There was a chance that Colorado's best player was not going to play because of him saying he's going to enter the transfer portal. But as I look at it right now, it does not look like he is playing. Um, no, he's not playing. So Colorado is without their best player for sure, for their leader in points wise, in Isaiah Johnson. I think that's his. Let me make sure of his name real quick. His name is, yeah, Isaiah Johnson, who averaged 16.9 points per game and entered the portal. They are without him in this one. So the fact that they're up two right now, it's early. The fact that they are up two right now, we will check back on that later. No, now they just fouled, so it's a 1 point game. But yeah, so that's going to be a great going to be a great matchup to see, and they're playing for a whole lot more for money for these players if they win this one. So that is why the college basketball crown is a tournament that needs to be looked at and watched throughout just to see, because when you have the money involved for this, schools are going to get this money, be able to give it to players, and then it entices them to come back. So then they even have this money to get better players for the next year and end up ultimately making the NCAA tournament. Um, we can go ahead and preview this Baylor Minnesota game. This one's gonna be bad basketball to begin with. It's gonna be bad basketball, but it's gonna be entertaining basketball because I mean, Baylor 16-16, not over 500. Minnesota 2 games under 500 at 15-17. You're gonna be like, why do I even want to watch that game? Well, when bad teams play basketball, it's still gonna be good because it's gonna be what's the word where you want to say energetic or enticing, because this is gonna be a close game down the stretch. The spread for Baylor is -3.5. So at that one, anything is possible of happening in it, especially in a game now that is so impacted by the transfer portal, like we said with the Colorado game. Who knows who's going to be playing, who's not going to be playing at this point, who's already left, who's with the team, and who wants to earn some extra cash, because you're playing for a whole lot more than just a championship, in that opinion. You're playing for some moolah. But then tomorrow, this is another amazing. This is probably your best matchup of this tournament to begin with. Stanford 20-12. I don't know how they're playing in this tournament. They don't play on Fox all year. I thought it was a thing you had to play on Fox to be in this tournament, but they picked up Stanford, so good for them. They get some money. And honestly, that will lead us into our conversation after we talk about the NIT of, oh, why should they not just all become one? But Stanford's playing West Virginia. These are the two teams that are both above 500. So this is only above 500 matchup. And the spread on this one for Stanford -1.5. So this one's also going to be a close one. I mean, West Virginia last year, their coach left with Darren DeVries. So they had this is first year head coach for West Virginia. Stanford had a great year in the ACC and stumbled to the finish line, which ultimately knocked them out of the NCAA tournament. So in that opinion, anything can happen in that one, especially like I said, they're playing for money too. They're playing to maybe even get money for that next player next year that will push them over the edge. But this Stanford team also, I gotta highlight this guy right here. Let me go ahead and highlight him for you. Ibuka Okori. is a freshman. Obviously, he's going to leave this year. He averaged 22.8 points per game this year. It was eighth in the nation. He was just a stud to watch. He was all ACC freshman team, all ACC select two. So that's just another reason to watch him because this is going to be one of his last few games in college. If they don't win this one, or if they do win this, he'll have a few more. So maybe he'll even get a little bit more money as his final parting gift from Stanford. This next game, this one's just a disgrace to postseason play if we think about it. You got 14 and 19 Rutgers. There's no reason Rutgers should be in a postseason tournament. I don't care. I'd rather put you can put all eight Big East teams that didn't make it, and I'd rather watch them than watch a 14 and 19 Rutgers team who last year didn't even make the tournament with Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. So that's a disgrace. They should not even be playing in this. But like I said, I thought you had to play on Fox to be in this tournament, but that's not the case because we had Stanford. So why don't we put somebody else in this tournament? But they're playing 15 and 17 Creighton, and we get to see Greg McDermott coach for the last time for the Blue Jays. These two are both tomorrow. These games are tomorrow. Creighton is obviously projected to win this game. I would be hammering the over for this one of they're gonna cover by more than 4.5. Rutgers is atrociously bad. They have been for the past few years, since their last tournament run. I mean, last year they should have been back in the tournament. It was just atrocious to see that Rutgers is now playing in a postseason tournament for some money at 14 and 19. There should be a stipulation. I mean, they're 5 games under 500 when Creighton is 2 games under 500. So I don't really understand why this Rutgers team got into this tournament because there was no juice in this squad. They were awful in the players era for money. It wasn't entertaining to watch. It was a terrible game when you watch them play Notre Dame. So I don't want to watch them play another terrible game, but I'm gonna watch it anyway because why not? So now that brings me to talking about this NIT semifinals that we get to watch. And this one's going to be fun. These are going to be a very fun two matchups. You got New Mexico, who had a chance to make it into the NCAA tournament, and they are playing Tulsa, who is back in this turn or in this spot after a pretty good win over Wichita State after Wichita State knocked them out of the American Conference in the semifinals. So they had a rematch and then they went up big on them and Wichita State came back. So that one was fun to watch. And then the next game we have Illinois State, who is the Cinderella of this tournament, playing Auburn, who is the favorite of this tournament. Auburn is projected to win this game in against Illinois State, but anything's going to happen in this NIT. I mean, Illinois State, if you look at their road, they blew out Kent State. Then they went to Wake Forest and beat them, and then they played the hottest team in the tournament in Dayton, who almost won the A10, but lost to who did they lose to? They lost to VCU in the championship after knocking off St. Louis the day before in that crazy end of a game thriller. So anything can happen now that they're playing Auburn, who is the clear-cut favorite to win this after all that junk that they talked about them having the hardest schedule and needing to play in the NCAA tournament for that. New Mexico, this has been a fun team to watch. They've absolutely ran through the competition so far. Every game at the pit has been amazing to watch. So now to get to see them in Finkel Fieldhouse, no, Hinkle Fieldhouse, it's going to be a fun one to see against Tulsa, who, like I said in that Wichita State game, was almost up 20, and Wichita State came back and even had the metrics to win this game, even though they didn't. They ended up winning by Wichita State ended up losing by 4, and Tulsa moved on to now play in the semifinals of this one. But now that's where we got to have the conversation of for these postseason tournaments, if the Crown is going to be able to offer money for these schools, why is Auburn playing in the NIT? Is it because of the Fox deal? But that doesn't make sense to me fully. Do they want to play in the NIT because it's more prestigious? But why would they not want money being in the SEC? Anything is going to help these days. But that's where it has to come to the question, why don't these two merge? Let's merge and see how we can have a little all the better teams. So we got all those Fox teams to play against this Auburn. So now Auburn's not playing Illinois State, even though Illinois State has proven that they can beat anybody like they beat Wake Forest down the stretch. So why don't we just see these merge and then throw more money into all of it? And then maybe even guys like Isaiah Johnson will play because they're still playing good competition instead of some bad teams. That's just my thought. Go ahead and merge the tournament because it's weird to see teams that are under 500 in tournaments that mean so much for money. So now I'm gonna read you a list that is very, very embarrassing for this school. You're gonna understand the school that I'm talking about once I say this list. Brandon Ingram, you already know who it is. Luke Kennard, Jason Tatum, Marvin Bagley, Gary Trent Jr., Zion Williamson, RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish, Trey Jones, Jalen Johnson, Paulo Banchero, Kyle Filipowski, Derek Lively, Jared McCain, Cooper Flagg, Con Knipple, and then Cameron Boozer and Isaiah Evans. Duke has not won a national championship since 2015 and had all of these NBA stars. They are combined 70 and 7 over the last 2 years. And these last 2 years, they might have had the absolute worst losses that you could have possibly had. These two losses the past 2 year were awful. They have had so much NBA talent in their program since 2016, and they have zero championships to show for it. If we're gonna rank where these Duke losses rank, I'm gonna say it. This one the past weekend against UConn is top. Then you got Cooper Flags with Houston, and Zion Williamson's team is arguably the third worst one, even though you could give the case it's the third worst in my opinion, because Cooper Flags year, they should have won that easily. That was theirs. There was no reason they should have lost it. Actually, and to say, Duke has not played in a national championship since their 2015 win. They have made two Final Fours, but have not played in a no. Yeah, two Final Fours, but have not played in a national championship with all of that talent that I just listed. And it goes to show you that freshmen just don't win in March. It's just never going to happen because you have you're playing against guys that are more experienced, which is why in the UConn loss, we saw Caden Boozer who panicked and threw the ball away. He could have just held it for 5 seconds, but he panicked and threw it away. So, which led the chance for UConn to come down and hit a shot. And you say, well, they hit a shot with a freshman. Well, guess what? The ball was passed to him by a veteran senior. The seniors are what led that team, not the freshmen like Cam Boozer had to do and Caden Boozer. But in my opinion, why did John Shire even have Caden Boozer out there in the first place when you have Caleb Foster, who easily could have been in that position holding on to the ball? You could say with his foot, but he's played, so why is he not in the game in the crucial moments? He said the game before, without Caleb Foster, they would not have beat St. John's. So why is Caleb Foster not in the game for that moment? It just doesn't make sense. I don't get it. We've seen it time and time again. Don't bet on Duke because the freshmen are not going to win and they're not going to be able to finish it off. Um, but I mean, 70 and 7 with no national championship appearances to show for it, and by far the two worst losses in program history. Honestly, there's going to be a big debate whether the 2022 loss is worse, the 2026 loss is worse, the 2025 loss is worse, or if the 2014, yes, the no, 2019 loss is worse. And then you could say the loss to NC State, who, yes, they were hot, but you still had Filipowski and Jared McCain on that team to where you could have, that was easily a very good squad that you could have won with. Um, but it just goes to show that Duke has got to stop recruiting freshmen as their main guys to help lead them on tournament runs because it's not going to work. We see it with Arizona. Yes, they have freshmen who are 100% their better players, but Jaden Bradley is the guy they give the ball to when they need to go get a bucket to score down the stretch. Michigan, there's not a freshman that's technically leading that team other than a few guys that are on that, but they are fitting the roles that are needed. They're not the end all be all. That's what we need in this game. because unlike Duke, who had what was it? Boozer, the two freshmen. Um, I think that was the only two freshmen they had on the court. I mean, you could say Isaiah Evans. He didn't play much last year. He didn't get the experience. He wasn't in the game when Duke blew that lead, so he's not going to have that experience. Boom, that's that. So we'll consider him to be there. And Gungba's not going to have that experience. So other than that, it's just like they had no experience in that moment on what to do, even though you can coach it and put it in their mind. You're not going to understand what it means until you actually are in the situation for that. Um, but now let's go ahead and move to another team in the triangle and talk about the UNC head coaching options. Everything that is pointing in this direction, since there was no decision made this week on who the head coach would be, that leads you to believe that the two options are still playing basketball. If the decision was made this week, I think TJ Altenberger would have been the only guy that they announced this week. But now that leaves you to believe, oh, there's still guys on the table, which would mean Tommy Lloyd is still in contention to be the head coach at UNC, and Dusty May is still in contention to be the head coach at UNC. But the other option is if it's both of these say no, right now, I guess you would go Billy Donovan in this case. That's what people have said. He's got a general manager to recruit his talent and deal with the NIL. He's won in college before. It's a little bit different of a game, but that's another guy. And then obviously your fourth guy has got to be TJ Altenberger, who yes, been he's not going to have the people that he's had come with him, but it's still a possibility because he still wins with what he has had. But if Tommy Lloyd comes, this UNC squad could be scary once they talk about the portal and possibly getting a few of the Arizona recruits to come on and flip over from Arizona and come to Chapel Hill. And now the third team in the triangle had made a splash this week. NC State hires former player Justin Gainey, who spent time at Tennessee for 5 years on the as an assistant of Rick Barnes' staff, and they made three Elite Eights and still hadn't made the Final Four. Tennessee's never made the Final Four in program history, but they hired Justin Gainey this week after being 5 years with Tennessee, like I said, and then he played for NC State for 4 years, and then went into the school, and then uh what was I gonna say? Yeah, he's gonna replace Will Wade, who absolutely stabbed NC State in the back, even though he always wanted to go to LSU after being fired from there. So Justin Gainey is now the new head coach at NC State, especially after Josh Schertz pulled his name out of the hat and returned to St. Louis, which honestly, if I'm Josh Schertz, that's probably not a bad idea either. So now, like I said, Justin Gainey, it's his time to shine as a head coach in college basketball as the next one we get to see and see how he goes. He might bring his son onto the staff in Jordan Gainey. Um, Justin Gainey was at USC Upstate at one point and brought, or no, Jordan Gainey was at USC Upstate and transferred to Tennessee to play under his dad. So there's a chance that now Jordan Gainey gets into the head coach, into the coaching tree under Justin Gainey and see what happens. But for the last thing that we're going to talk about is we're renewing, I guess, or renewing a very interesting foe that was announced today. Syracuse and Indiana will play a game next year in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Um, the Hoosiers are set to play the Orange on November 9th in Indianapolis, and this is the first time that they have played since November 30th, 2021 in Syracuse, New York, where the Orange beat the Hoosiers 112 to 110 in double overtime. So the last one was a very special one that we saw in double overtime to where Indiana could have ended the streak of losing to the Orange, but that didn't happen. So now they get the option to play again for the eighth time, finally end the 6 game losing streak that they have. Indiana has only beat Syracuse one time, and it was probably the biggest game that possible. It was they met in 1987 in the national championship, where Keith Smart nailed the jumper with 5 seconds left to push the Hoosiers over the edge for a 74-73 victory and get their fifth and most recent national championship. So that's the last time the Hoosiers won a national championship. Also, the last time the Hoosiers beat this Syracuse Orange squad. And we get to see two new coaches under these two schools. Darren DeVries, it'll be his second season after his first one this year from coming from West Virginia. And we get to see Jerry McNamara under his first year in Syracuse as the head man for this one. And he gets to travel to Gainbridge Fieldhouse, probably second or third-ish game of the season, seeing as to it's going to be on November 9th. But that's exactly what it's going to be. November 9th, the Orange and Indiana are gonna, or Syracuse and Indiana is gonna renew. I guess it's not really a rivalry if it's a 6-1 showing for the Orange in that one, but anything is going to be possible for Indiana after we've seen Syracuse not be that great in the past 3 years, 4 years, 5 years on a 5-year tournament drought. So Indiana could finally end the streak in this one, and they're playing in Indianapolis. So it'll be a fun one to see inside of an NBA stadium. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Heavily Contested Hoops podcast. My name is Peyton Mitchell. Like I said, follow me on TikTok at HCH_pod. It's daily college basketball content, and it'll probably move into sports as we're more in the off season, but it'll always be a focus on college basketball. And then right here on YouTube or Spotify, continue to listen as we go ahead and go on rants about college basketball weekly, twice a week. So have a good day and have a good rest of your week wherever you are listening to this. Thank you.